Hello and welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art. Today I had something really exciting I wanted to share with you, book related, and then talk about Ray Bradbury today and his short story, The Lake. But first of all, I finally have been able to get a copy of his first collection ever published, Dark Carnival. Now, this is not the original, obviously. I'm not that rich, and there's not a lot of those available still. But this is a an edition I wish they had republished. I think there was one that republished a few 10, 20 years ago, but it was like a rare collector's item, and it was almost as expensive as the first edition. But fortunately, some company in England, of all places, republished it. I've been looking in the United States, and they haven't done it yet. But England, this is another reason why you're awesome. You republished this book at an affordable price. It only cost me about $10 United States money. I guess it was about £10 UK money, so would have been a little bit more, I guess. Anyway, I got it through Amazon UK, which I didn't realize I could have an account with them. Apparently, you can. I've always found Amazon very happy to take my money, no matter what country they're in. So I was happy to part ways with some dollar bills for this. So basically, what this book is, it's the very first collection of Ray Bradbury stories that was published. And like I said, reprinted in a paperback. And I had been looking at some of the stories that were in this collection in order. I think it was last year, and I hoped to do like one a month or so. And then I kind of got behind on that, which is the story of my life. But then when I saw that this book was available, I kind of put it off until I could get the book in my hands. So I want to go ahead and pick up to where we left off on the with this book, which is the story The Lake. It's the fourth story in the collection. But some of the stories in this collection as a whole are just classic Ray Bradbury stories. I mean, the ones that really made him a household name. Stories like the couple that I've already talked about. The Homecoming was one. Skeleton in the Jar. I've talked about those stories already. Some other ones coming up that would be in this collection. There's Uncle Enar. Jack in the Box is really good. The Coffin is scary, very creepy. I can't wait to talk about that. The Small Assassin is one that's pretty disturbing as well. Yeah, The Emissary is another. The Wind, The Night, The Dead Man, The Man Upstairs. Some great stories coming. I am really, really excited to get my hands on this. Whether it was a reprint or the original, this was a book that I didn't think I'd ever get to own. Most of the stories, like I've said, I've read. There's a couple in here I don't think I have. At least I don't recognize them by their titles. So I'm really looking forward to reading some of those stories, and I'll let you know when those come about. But all right, let's talk about The Lake. The Lake was first published in the May 1944 edition of Weird Tales, and later was collected in Bradbury's collections Dark Carnival, The October Country, and one of his omnibus collections, The Stories of Ray Bradbury. The story itself is a fairly simple one, but it is one of his earlier stories that even Bradbury himself said really helped him to realize that he was capable of writing not just scary stories or genre stories, but something really literary. It starts off with a young boy named Harold. The story itself is the older Harold writing about this memory of himself as a child as the story opens. They're at the beach, and he's playing with a friend called Tally, and she unfortunately drowns that's at the end of that summer. And it's just very beautiful the way Bradbury describes the setting, the sorrow. The whole story itself is just weighed down by melancholy. And he talks about how much he loved Tally even as a boy. He said, "I was only 12, but I know how much I loved her. It was that love that comes before all significance of body and morals. It was that love that is no more bad than wind and sea and sand lying side by side forever." It was made of all the warm, long days together at the beach, and the humming, quiet days of droning education at the school. All the long autumn days of the years past when I had carried her books home from school. Tally! I called her name for the last time. I shivered. I felt water on my face and did not know how it got there. The waves had not splashed that high. And so what he does then, as Tally, his friend, had swum out and she drowned, and just how beautifully is that put? That captures the love of a schoolboy crush. It's just poetry. And I love how he mentions he's crying, but he describes it like somehow the waves must have splashed my face because my face is wet, but even though tears don't, or waves don't crash that high. So what he does, he builds half a sandcastle, and he cries out, "If you hear me, come in and build the rest." Then the story kind of goes on. It does a quick time jump, and Harold comes back to the beach, newly married. Now he's older, and he's remembering all of this that happened, the events there at the beach. He's remembering it all. And while he's there, a lifeguard comes in with a dead body. Harold approaches the lifeguard and asks what happened, what is it, and he tells her it was he found a body of a girl. She'd been, from all that he could tell, she's been dead for quite some time. Harold looks at the dead girl and he thinks it's Tally, and he's shocked at how young she still looks. And Harold says this: "I thought, people grow. I have grown, but she has not changed. She is still small. She is still young. Death does not permit growth or change. She still has golden hair. She will be forever young, and I will love her forever. Oh God, I will love her forever." So he's walking along the beach, just kind of by himself, reflecting on things. And he sees, it says, "There at the water's edge lay a sand castle, only half built, just like Tally and I used to build them, she half and I half. I looked at it. I knelt beside the sand castle and saw the little prints of feet coming in from the lake and going back out to the lake again and not ever returning. Then I knew. 'I'll help you to finish it,' I said. I did. I built the rest of it up very slowly. Then I arose and turned away and walked off so as not to watch it crumble in the waves, as all things crumble." And then the story ends as he walks back to his wife. So really beautiful and kind of heartbreaking sentiments there, and how true that is. And that's one of the that's one of the hardships of having someone very young die, is you realize you will grow older, but they will forever stay that age in your memory. That they're robbed of the life that could be. So really a sad story overall, but I think it remains one of Bradbury's best in just being able to describe the atmosphere, to explore those feelings of sorrow and heartbreak, and yet just a glimmer of hope that Tally lives on in some form or another. I thought it was interesting how Bradbury describes the footprints coming out from the sea and then going back. I just thought that imagery was interesting. His brief reflections on death and what that means. And yet, even though she's died, he will remember her forever. And what a great act of friendship, of love that is, that we, those that have died, that we have loved or cared for, that we keep their story alive with the stories we tell, with the memories we share. So I think that was a really beautiful story. And like I said, one of Bradbury's best. And I think it's kind of an odd story to appear in a magazine called Weird Tales. It doesn't really have to do with monsters or aliens or murderers or anything like that. Ultimately, I think it's really emotional and something really beautiful about the fact that maybe Tally was waiting for Harold to come back and build the sandcastle. and she's maybe reaching out to him from the afterlife saying, "Hey, I'm okay. I'll be here." And I don't know. It could have gone really creepy. It could have gone overly sentimental, but it was just the right balance. So I think just a brilliant piece of literary fiction, really fantastic tale that to me makes me think, those connections we have still with people that have passed before us. I'm going to share a couple of quotes about this story with you. Cliff's Notes says this, that the lake is another of the stories which exhibits Bradbury's strong affinity for the carnival. Here he describes the summer's end as if it were nailed into a series of coffins in traditional sideshow fashion. The merry-go-round's music is the wind, and the lake water is like a magician, sawing in half anyone who wades out in it. And that's they're talking about some of the imagery that Bradbury began the story with. Water imagery, however, holds the dominant place in the story. When Tally drowns, an integral part of Harold's life is taken away from him. Even as a child, he seeks this life within the lake's waters. Years later, when the lake finally returns Tally to Harold, he pledges his everlasting love for her. At this point, however, the waters are actually destroying the life that Harold has begun with Margaret, and that's his wife. The life-giving quality of water is not meant for Harold. The lake has taken his love away from him, returned it, and now he is alone. Which is, maybe a little more of a depressing interpretation of that story than I took, I suppose, but maybe there's only so much trauma that my brain can handle. But I thought that was interesting thoughts about the story. Maybe to see some of that darker element to it and why it would be in a magazine like Weird Tales, because you get the sense that at the end of the story, as beautiful as I find it, the last sentence, which I'll let you read, but it almost gives the smallest hint, suggestion that something now is not right with him and Margaret. That that this event that happened to him is taking away what he has now, just as the lake took away Tally from him as a child. And I don't know how he does it, but it's a masterful piece of fiction. In another article, and this one written by Bradbury, and it's called "Run Fast, Stand Still," and it was later collected in his book on writing called Zen and the Art of Writing, a book I've read 3 or 4 times and would highly recommend. He said the lake was written in 2 hours and led to him believing it was the finest story he'd ever written at that point in time. I would agree and argue that this might be one of his best, if not the very best story he's written as far as quality goes. Enjoyment, that's a whole other topic, but you could argue that this is his greatest story. In fact, his official biographer, Sam Weller, talked about this story on his website, and he places the lake at number 4 among his greatest of stories. And if I can read from Sam Weller's website here, it says this, that gives you the backstory of how he wrote the lake. It said, it was 1942, and he was just 22 years old. Ray was visiting a dear friend in downtown Los Angeles and brought a portable typewriter with him. He sat in his friend's backyard where there was a tranquil Japanese garden. Ray typed the word, "the lake," at the top of the page of blank paper. He often did this, scribbling down nouns that bubbled up from his subconscious. He then followed whatever path the noun presented to him. He let the noun lead him to story. In this instance, he was soon typing furiously. 2 hours later, he was done and there were tears in his eyes. He knew he had done something different. He had written a story that was neither imitative of his literary heroes nor derivative. He had created something wholly original from his heart. He had discovered his voice. So this is a very significant story in the Bradbury canon. Weller also says that with this story, Bradbury kind of claims the Midwest autumn as his as his playground, as his world. He compares it to, Conan Doyle took ownership of Victorian London, in that O'Connor put a flag down in the Gothic South. Weller goes on to say, Ray Bradbury, with a single story, would make a claim to the Midwest autumn as his milieu. And as the years and publications continued, he would make a formidable case that he owned the season. Well, another interesting thing about this story is, not I feel like it's got depth and maturity to it, but he was so young when he wrote it. And, he said he'd really been writing every day for 10 years at that point. Even at the young age of 22, he was able to turn out this story. So let me encourage you out there who might be writing and wondering if it's worth it. Maybe you've been writing for a while, but just keep at it. It took Bradbury a while to find his story, his talent, his voice. You'll find it too. So according to the table of contents, the next story is called The Maiden. And I'm not sure what that story is about, to be honest. Looks like it's a very short one, just 2 pages. So I might do 2. The next story after that is called The Tombstone. And you can probably find those stories in any collection omnibus or some of his other reprints, if not in this book itself. I'm so glad they have it collected in one volume so that you can experience what everyone experienced if they were to pick up that Bradbury for the very first time. I think, I just think it's great. So yeah, we'll talk about those stories coming up. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure if I read those before or not. They're not familiar to me, so we'll see. But, that'll be it for today. So if you have thoughts on Ray Bradbury, would like to know where to start or how to approach him, let me know in a comment down below. I love getting people to discover Bradbury. So if you've been curious about him, let me know, and we'll talk about it more there. So thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, as we're getting so close to 700 subscribers now. I can't believe we've gotten to that point, but that's fantastic. As always, until next time, take care and happy reading.